Yesterday, the Unbossed team was very excited to share that Brittney Griner has been freed from the detention facility in Russia. But with that great news, of course, we had a horrific, ugly response from members of the right in the United States. A lot of squawking from Republicans, including Tucker Carlson. Watch this.
Well, you should know that Whalen is a Trump voter, and he made the mistake of saying so on social media. He's paying the price for that now. Brittney Griner is not. She's got very different politics. Brittney Griner despises the United States. She's been very vocal about that. This country is so repellent and immoral that 2 years ago she said, quote, "I honestly feel we should not play the national anthem during our basketball season." She hates the country so much she doesn't want to hear its anthem. That's the kind of position that gets you rewarded by Joe Biden. Hate America? Perfect. We'll free the guy who sold weapons to drug cartels to get you out early. So there's that. And then there's the matter of identity, which is central to equity. Brittney Griner is not white, and she's a lesbian. Now, those facts might seem irrelevant to you. We hope they do seem irrelevant, because they are.
So what you just watched was Tucker Carlson, of course, spewing his hatred for black women to his millions of viewers last night. This headline sums it up pretty nicely. Freedom-loving conservatives are mad that Brittney Griner is no longer in Russian jail. Yeah, WNBA star Brittney Griner has been released from Russian jail, and the far right is upset about it. The same far right and freedom-loving party that will say we cannot let the federal government have too much power. You should be very cautious of this. But of course, some dictatorial leaders should put someone in jail for accidentally having a vape pen in their luggage. Makes a lot of sense to me. No reason to look into the logical structure of that argument. Now, the right wing wasted no time when it came to responding to this and jumping on the outrage bandwagon, not just on cable news, also on Twitter. An American was detained in Russia for 294 days, and this is what Donald Trump Jr. had to say about it. No one cuts better deals than Biden. We get an awful America-hating WNBA player, while Russia gets an international arms dealer. The adults are back. I'm confused because the same party that says we need to put people in prison for drug offenses and pushes reefer madness when marijuana is not a dangerous drug for people to take, the same party that takes hundreds of thousands of dollars year over year from the NRA is upset that we got someone out of jail who used marijuana in exchange for an arms dealer. You would think they'd be like, what a great trade. This seems about equal according to our moral calculation. No. You had Benny Johnson tweeting, "This is the lowest point in US foreign policy in my lifetime. The collapse of an empire." I don't know. I think this guy was around for the invasion of Iraq, but I can't be sure of Benny Johnson's real age. I think he was around for that. Then we had Jesse Kelly say, she is a black lesbian who hates America. Biden is just bringing another voter back home. Just disgusting. And there's more where this came from. Let's watch this.
Maybe if those Americans that are imprisoned in jail over there in Russia, maybe if they were as anti-American as Brittney Griner's been, maybe they'd been released a hell of a lot quicker. Who knows? Unbelievable.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna pass it over to Ben to read this post from Donald Trump on Truth Social. So let's put this up, this truth from Mr. Donald. Of course, he had something to say.
Oh, wow, that is tiny. What kind of deal is it to swap Brittney Griner, a basketball player who openly hates our country, for the man known as the Merchant of Death, okay? Who is one of the biggest arms dealers anywhere in the world and responsible for tens of thousands of deaths and horrific injuries? Why wasn't former Marine Paul Whelan included in this totally one-sided transaction? He would have been let out for the asking. What a stupid and unpatriotic embarrassment for the USA, 3 exclamation points, okay?
All right, let us remind you, same guy, Donald Trump, when he was in office, he wasn't worried about Paul Whelan. Look at this headline. Trump turned down Paul Whelan and Victor Bout prisoner swap years ago, John Bolton says. So this was on the table under Trump's presidency. What a hypocrite. I think when we read Trump quotes from now on. We're gonna do it like we're on a radio show and we're getting a call in where I'm gonna be like, yo, we've got Donnie from Queens on the line. Why mad, Donnie? And then we'll just have Ben read the Truth Social quote. But Ben, what do you make of all this outrage around Brittney Griner's release?
I mean, first of all, that factoid about Trump, of course, being given the exact opportunity before Griner was ever in prison in Russia and turned it down, just yet again for the 3 billionth time proves the utter lack of substance and continual hypocrisy of the Orange Menace that is still trying to ruin our country day by day as best he can and succeeding in certain ways. Look, it is very stupid, the right-wing reaction. Obviously, it's knee-jerk. You can predict what their reaction is going to be on these things all of the time. It's very obvious. And look, speaking totally honestly, when I heard the story yesterday, just watching the nightly news, my first thought was like, wow, I didn't think anything about her color or her sexual orientation. I thought, okay, that's a little weird that it's, it seems like celebrity culture won out over a former Marine. But when I dug deeper into the story, just the fact is that they were trying to get both released. They were trying to get both for the one arms dealer, and Russia just would not budge on Paul Whelan at this time. And it's nearly impossible to even be doing any negotiating with the Russian regime during this war on Ukraine that we are essentially fighting against Russia. We are supplying the weapons, we are supplying the money. And the fact we were able to get any deal at all is a win. It's a huge win during such a tumultuous time and a time that's edging more towards a Cold War again with our longtime adversary. And so it's a huge win. Not every win needs to be a loss. Not every time that somebody on the left gets freed, gets a victory, does it need to be an attack on the right. But of course, that's the way the disingenuous right will see it, because they are a bunch of America hating. They are the America haters. They're the ones who at every even positive moment want to find a way to make it seem like the people that have gotten that victory are anti-American. Their response is obviously anti-American, to not be able to celebrate an American being brought back home. And last point I'd like to make on this is that while some people might be skeptical of whether or not Brittney Griner accidentally brought the weed pen in her luggage, and who knows the real truth on that, but I would have called BS on that until I did it myself. I've accidentally smuggled weed across international borders before. I talk about it in my special, and it can happen. You pack in a rush and you end up with stuff in your bag you do not want there. So it very likely is the case, and is absurd that a country as backwards as Russia would imprison somebody for something so small. I wish we could put a little bit of THC in Putin's water supply. Maybe the war in Ukraine would end a lot faster.
Yeah, everybody smoke a blunt for world peace, especially international leaders, especially dictators like Putin. And at the end of the day, you've got so many Republicans who, for some reason, love Vladimir Putin. And they obviously never cared about Paul Whelan, especially this information about Donald Trump. Their chosen leader didn't care about Paul Whelan either, didn't care about getting that trade deal done, according to John Bolton, who would absolutely know. They care about convincing the American people to hate Brittney Griner and people who have her identity, being a black woman, and being a lesbian. She just doesn't fit into their agenda. That's exactly what's going on here. This is their continuation of homophobia and racism. That's a part of their agenda because for some reason, according to them, and this is probably why they like Putin, they see the government as a vessel to impose their values upon everyone else, their way of life. If you don't like people who are gay, that's fine. Don't live your life as a gay person. If you don't like people who are transgender, that's fine. Stick with your cisgender assigned at birth. If you don't like somebody else's religion and you think they should be a Christian, that's fine. Go to your Christian church and practice your Christianity. But instead, what they want to have happen is to have the government impose their values upon everyone else in a similar way to how a dictator like Vladimir Putin does. And so it's pretty clear where their alliance is. And it's definitely not in the interest of freedom. And this story is an exemplification of that. Any last thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, the pro-Russian right in this country are the ones who constantly claim that the left is anti-American. Literally pro our biggest adversary are the ones claiming that we on the left in this country just don't know where our loyalties lie as they bow down to Putin and pray for his victory. It's sad, it's wrong, it's disgusting, they're stupid. And John Bolton looks like Yosemite Sam.